Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. When the morning comes and we see what we've become. In the cold light of day, we're a flame in the wind, not the fire that we begun. Every argument, every word we can't take back. Cause with all that has happened, I think that we both know the way that the story ends. Then only for a minute, I want to change my mind. Cause this just don't feel right to me. I wanna raise your spirits, I want to see you smile, but no, that means I'll have to leave. No, that means I'll have to leave. Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. When the evening falls and I'm left there with my thoughts, and the image of you being with someone else, well, it's eating me up inside. But we ran our course, we pretended we're okay. Now if we jump together, at least we can swim far away from the wreck we made. Then only for a minute, I want to change my mind. Cause this just don't feel right to me. I wanna raise your spirits, I want to see you smile, but no, that means I'll have to leave. No, that means I'll have to leave. Lately, I've been thinking, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. So I'll go, I will go. So I'll go, I will go.
So what's up guys, it's Justin here, and I hope you guys enjoyed that little travel video. As you guys might know, I've been really wanting to do more travel related films as we move further into the future, but it is a learning curve. I've been so used to doing product videos and stuff like that for so many years now that jumping into a new kind of artistic form is something that is going to take quite a bit of time, both in the filming and editing. So I think I am getting a little bit better, but as you guys might have noticed, that wasn't exactly the longest video. One of the reasons was because I was only there for about one full day, and another reason is simply because it was super hot and I was lazy to take out the camera and film everything. But the reason why I was in New York a couple weeks ago is because Samsung Canada actually flew me out for the Note 9 Unpacked event, and I got to check out the phone, test it out, and that was really awesome. If you guys also want to check out my back to school content, which I've been working on since the day I got back, I'm going to leave a link to everything down below. But it was definitely a really cool experience. Samsung put us in a nice hotel, the William Vale in Brooklyn, which had a crazy view of Manhattan. But this was kind of a rundown of what went on during the trip. I actually live on the far west coast of Canada, so I flew about 5 hours over to Toronto and then down to New York, and I had flight delays on the way there, and the way back was a whole other story which I'm going to talk about later. So when I got to New York, it was like 11 a.m. that day, and I had been up for like 12 hours already because it was a red-eye flight the night before from Victoria. But I got there and I started to film stuff and kind of just explore the city. I had been there a couple times before, also for very short trips, but just checked out New York because it's kind of unique every time you go, depending on the time of year and just the overall vibe of it. But I was actually supposed to go on a helicopter flight with Fly Nyan that night for the sunset, and being the idiot that I am and always being late for stuff, living on a place that doesn't have any traffic, I didn't exactly judge traffic as well as I should have, and I missed the flight. Thankfully, they actually booked me on a flight 2 days later, and that was really nice of them to do. So that great footage was from Fly Nyan. So if you guys want to check them out, I'm going to leave a link to them down below. They do great helicopter tours in a few different cities, and they also often do have some nice promotions to save some money as well. Everyone there was super nice, and I think New York is one of those places where you can experience a city from the ground, where there's a ton of traffic, it's chaotic, and all of that, even though it is very nice. But being able to see everything from above, both Manhattan, Brooklyn, and just everything around it, is just a whole other view. So after missing the helicopter flight on the first day, I had dinner. I set an alarm clock, but I actually completely slept through it, and that was the morning of the Samsung event. So the Samsung rep actually called my room, asking me where I was, and I was that guy who showed up to the event like an hour later than everyone else.
When you guys are supposed to meet at 9 whatever reason, do not sleep in until like 10.
But I still made it in time for the start of the event, and that is where they announced the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. And I did do a full review of this, so make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. But the event was really cool. They had these wristbands that had LED lights on them like a concert, and they're flashing in a cool formation. And there, Samsung announced the Note 9 as well as the watch, and also Bixby Home. After hanging out with Samsung for the rest of the day, you guys might have saw in that film, I did go to the block party that they had, and there was Logic. So that was my first time seeing him live, and I just tried to snap some photos as well just for practice. But on the topic of cameras, the one that I brought with me was a pair of Canon 1DX2s, and the lenses I took on this trip were the 35mm as well as a 24-70 and 16-35 because it has stabilization. And the one that I found myself using the most was the 24-70, which is kind of the go-to lens for a lot of people. And with that, I was shooting mostly in 60 frames per second. That way I was able to slow it down and also add stabilization. And the setup, as expected, was very nice to use. And just seeing some of the footage, even though there was a lot of things that I could have done better, including exposing better while I was up in the helicopter, I'm really excited to hopefully bring you guys some more travel related films in the future. I actually took all of my gear in a Peak Design bag and also took an external bag that I sent onto the plane with all of my clothes and stuff, but I at least made sure that I had both camera bodies with me and the lenses were the ones that were sent on the plane. Even with the 20L bag, I was able to fit both Canon 1DX2 Pro bodies as well as a single lens, and considering how compact that bag is and being the smaller model versus a 30L, I was actually very surprised. I also tried to take a ton of Instagram pictures while I was in New York just because it's super aesthetic and I don't really know where to take pictures where I live. So make sure you go ahead and check out my Instagram, especially if you like streetwear, because I've been really trying to post that side of things over on that page. So one thing that you guys also ask a lot of the times is what I'm wearing. So this trip, I'm going to show you guys what I brought with me, and it was like 35 degrees. It was probably one of the hottest places I've been to. It just for some reason felt extremely hot, and carrying a lot of camera gear, it just wasn't that ideal. So for the most part, I was in a short and t-shirt, and you guys probably don't see me wearing t-shirts that often, but a t-shirt that I recently picked up is just a plain white Stone Island, and that is kind of my style. I like to just wear things that are very plain, light, and minimal in the way they look. So that was a Stone Island t-shirt, and I actually picked it up in a size large. And being around 5'6", this actually fits pretty nicely, not too oversized, but slightly oversized. Another shirt that I wore around with me was this one, and it's from Polar Skate Co. It is just a crew neck, and I got it in a size medium. It fits pretty nicely, a little bit baggy as well, but once you wash it and shrink it a little bit, it should fit pretty true to size. As for pants, one that I've got a lot of questions of when I posted a photo of it, these shorts, and that is the reigning champ, the Muhammad Ali collab that they did, I think with the date on the side here. It's a pretty classic pant that they have with the distressed bottoms, which I actually prefer over the normal bottoms. I just find it fits a little bit looser and more comfortable. It also feels thinner overall. There's a Reigning Champ logo on the side, but just a black pair of pants, and I also picked these up in a gray, and these have kind of been my go-to shorts over the past couple years. Next up, another pair of pants that I picked up before I went to New York, and I wore on the helicopter because it was much colder up in the air. This is the Stone Island pant, and you guys know I really like my polyester published pants, so these are actually very similar. I did have them alterated quite a bit, even though they were size small. This has a cuff on the bottom, and I think the original cut has a zipper, but I actually had that removed. And yeah, just pretty simple pair of cargo pants that I think go very well with a lot of things, whether you're wearing high tops or low tops. As for shoes, I was already going to check in a full-size luggage, so I brought quite a few pairs. I didn't really end up wearing many of them, but the one that I wore the most was the Fear of God Vans. So these are the ones right here, and I actually don't know where the other side is. But these are the Fear of God Vans that I recently picked up, and I took like a year to track these down because it was so hard to find in size 8 at a price that wasn't completely insane for a pair of Vans, even though they were still overpriced. But this is just a classic one that has a Fear of God print, and it has the tan lacing, and I've been wearing these a lot during the summer, and as you guys can probably tell, they are completely beat. The other pair of shoes that I brought, and I've been really liking to wear around the airport, is the Gucci Ace. So these are also ones that you guys can probably tell I've been wearing a ton, but these are just comfortable for some reason. Even though they are a leather shoe, they are very soft, they fit my feet very nicely, so I've been wearing these a lot, and being a true to size 8, 8.5, I think I got these in a size 6 Italian. The pair of shoes that I wore on the helicopter was the Jordan 1 Off-White, the Europe color. And the reason why I decided to take this one instead of the Chicago's is because obviously we're in New York, and these were probably the ones that I wore the least out of the 3 of them that I've had recently. I just haven't really been wearing Jordan 1s ever since I got the Vans because they're definitely not the most comfortable pair of shoes. The last pair of shoes that I brought is ones that I've been wearing a ton as well, almost as much as my Fear of God Vans, and that is the Common Projects. These are probably one of my favorite pairs of shoes, despite them being the most simple and likely the least hype. out of the entire collection, but this is the Achilles low. I got it in a size 40, and they do take a while to break in, but after you break them in, they're a nice soft Italian leather shoe that with anything that you wear makes it seem much classier. I wear them with my cargo pants. I don't really wear them with shorts, but if you want to wear this with like a hoodie or something, it actually does fit pretty well. So after a whole day of Samsung activities for the launch of the Note 9, the next morning I had to get up pretty early because I had the helicopter flight that was rescheduled from the one that I missed. This time I wasn't going to miss it, so I was up at like 6 a.m. and made my way over to New Jersey where the helicopter took off, and like I said, it was such a nice view and just a glimpse of some of the footage that you guys saw in the intro and as B-roll. It's actually much harder than you think to film things while you're up there because it is so windy, so shaky, but the Canon 1DX, despite not having optical image stabilization, actually held up pretty nicely when I added stabilizer in Final Cut and also slowed it down to 60p. My camera does have the option to shoot in 120 frames per second, which would have allowed me to slow it down much more, but I just really wanted to shoot in 4K because that's kind of what I do on the channel, and shooting buildings and just a large city and everything, I just want to capture it in the highest resolution possible. After that flight, I had to rush back to the hotel, get everything packed up, and get to the airport, and this is when everything just kind of went to I was taking off out of LaGuardia Airport, and after searching it up on Google, I heard that that was one of the worst airports in America when it comes to delays. So I was delayed like 3 hours, and I actually was supposed to have a direct flight 45 minutes after landing in Toronto back to Victoria. As you probably heard me talk about by now, Victoria is an island. It's not exactly the biggest place, so there was only 2 direct flights a day to this island, and being 3 hours late out of LaGuardia, I missed that flight completely and essentially had to spend the entire night at Toronto Airport, which definitely isn't the worst airport to spend the night in, but I had so many things that I had to do with the back to school content, videos to film, some deadlines to meet, that I was getting super anxious at the airport, and the next morning, 13 hours later than I was supposed to land, and a total of like 20 hours from LaGuardia to Victoria, I made it, and hopefully you guys enjoy some of the back to school videos that have followed ever since. I still have a couple left to go and many more videos going into the fall season. So in this video, I just really wanted to sit down and talk to you guys about what I did on this trip, just kind of behind the scenes, stuff I brought, I mean, cameras I used, how I filmed, and just a bit of insight of what this trip was like, being a trip that was sort of for work, but also trying to get the creative side done with this travel video. But I also really want to ask you if there is anywhere in particular that you really want me to travel to and try to make a film, a lifestyle film, maybe a fashion-based video, or just anything. Just leave your suggestions down below as to where you want me to go to next, and I'll definitely take it into consideration. But if you enjoyed it, make sure you drop a like and a comment down below, subscribe to the channel for more, and I'll see you all in the next one.